fundsupermart.com.
What is your outlook on Malaysia for the next 2 to 3 years?
We are cautiously optimistic on the Malaysian market. Assuming Barisan Nasional gets a fresh mandate in the upcoming general elections, we think that current economic policies will continue. There are basically 3 points to note here. Firstly, the implementation of the ETPs will go ahead. Second, we foresee a rolling back of government subsidies. And 3, the implementation of GST. Now, if you look at the first point on EDP projects, I think the key emphasis would be on the MRT. So there's a lot of contracts available for construction companies as well as suppliers of equipment. Then there is the oil and gas side, with Rapid. And again, there's more infrastructure works, and that will be positive for the oil and gas companies. On the flip side, we've got the rolling back of subsidies and higher GST, and this is actually negative for companies in general because it will increase cost of production and also increase or put inflationary pressures. So in the short term, we potentially see a squeeze in corporate margins, but we think that this is a necessary pain for corporate Malaysia to go through because in the long run, it makes Malaysia a more competitive country.
With the elections looming, are you doing anything in particular to position your portfolio?
I think we've been gradually realigning our portfolios to be more apolitical, i.e., we try to avoid companies that rely on political patronage. So we focus on companies in the telecommunications sector, consumer sectors, that will continue to perform regardless who is in power.
Are there any sectors or themes that you're particularly bullish on?
Apart from what I mentioned earlier about looking at beneficiaries of the ETP, we are also looking for companies that are more export-oriented. One, to benefit from the expected recovery. Two, to also broaden the earnings base. I think in view of globalization, you want companies that are not only Malaysian focused or centric, you want companies that can grow regionally and globally. But the key here is to identify companies with strong balance sheet and strong cash flows, because in this current uncertain times, you want companies that are financially sound.
Conversely, are there any sectors or themes that you're not too keen on?
At this point in time, with the rolling back of subsidies, we are concerned about rising costs of production. So again, here we are looking for companies with pricing power. So companies that are price takers, that are doing commodity-like products, and that cannot pass on the higher costs to their consumers. These are the companies that we would avoid. Again, I want to stress on companies with weak fundamentals and balance sheet, because as we ride through this economic slowdown, only the strong would survive. And you're already starting to see some of this pain, not in Malaysia, but in China, where you see a lot of inventory build-up and receivables increasing. So a lot of the corporates, or some of the corporates in China, are already starting to see financial stress. So we want to make sure that the companies we choose in Malaysia don't have that problem.
The fund's holdings are mostly in KLCI companies, and the fund performance also tracks the benchmark closely. What is the fund doing to achieve outperformance?
Actually, I would like to correct you. If you look at our performance of our funds, we've been consistently outperforming the market. And based on our internal rankings, we are already at the top of the second quintile into the first quintile. Our strategy is to be benchmark hugging in the near term because of the market uncertainties. So we want to stick with the big liquid names, and it's basically these stocks that have actually done well. If you look at the performance year to date. So it's a conscious strategy on our part to invest mainly in the big cap stocks at this point in time. I think there will be a time where we go down the curve and look at the smaller to mid cap stocks, but that's when we see clearer signs of the recovery story coming into play.